Exam Successes course on creative writing will help your child and yourself to write more concise, more comprehensive and more fluid creative writing pieces for the exam. Creative writing is actually one of the harder parts of the exam because a lot of things can go wrong. For example, structure, lack of adjectives, and even a writing piece that doesn't relate to the question at hand. So our course will help your child in this area. We'll do this by having the following benefits. 1. Timed writing practice questions for each checkpoint will help your child prepare better for the exam. You will practice writing under timed conditions. 2. Detailed explanations using examples of real-life writing, why some pieces are better and some pieces don't get through the exam. How to come up with good topics in the exam and write a full piece. Okay, that's one that starts with a beginning, middle and end. And what good writing piece overall looks like. Additionally, this course will cover the following 12 checkpoints. Introduction, exam topic and writing style, setting, characters and topic inspiration, structure, introduction and first paragraph, structure for the main event and concluding, showing as opposed to telling for paragraphs, showing as opposed to telling for sentences, showing as opposed to telling, word selection, reviewing your work, exam strategy, and the final exam, along with solutions to the exam and sample essays. This course is meant to be self-contained and it includes both theory and practice. We have theory through things such as instructional videos, notes and images, and it's supposed to be including practice through practice questions. Because this course is organised in terms of checkpoints, you can progress through it at your own pace. You can go as slowly or as quickly as you like. If you ever need a refresher or to reinforce your knowledge, you can always go back to the checkpoint and revisit. You'll feel more confident because everything is explained in simple to understand terms. This means less confusion and greater understanding and better preparation for your exam. Here's a quick extra. What we'll do is we'll just talk about a sample writing piece for the New South Wales selective schools that they've released, I guess, a sample question, and it looks something like this. And we've blogged about it at examsuccess.org about why this writing piece that one of our students have done is an A+ writing piece. Okay, so good creative writing has a lot of structure. There's a lot of showing as opposed to telling, but there's also relevancy to the question at hand. Okay, I'll just read you this. This is a great question. This girl got into a selective school. But the first thing we need to do is we need to address the question at hand. Okay, so look at the images because your story has to relate to an image. Do not use templated, I guess, writing piece. Just write. Anyway. So, I burrowed my way through a crowd of reporters desperate for the first scoop of the scene happening. We were notified that a 9-stack car crash had occurred, leaving at least 10 people seriously injured. The reporter, who would be able to secure an interview with the officer, would be praised and glorified back at the office. The warm asphalt. Notice the word warm asphalt. Did nothing to hinder the stampede. So hinder the stampede happening before my very eyes. Handbags, microphones, and audio recorders. You know, those words there relate back to this image and the stimulus. We're being waved about in the air. Notice these words. She's doing a lot of showing. Okay, instead of being waved, she wrote waved about in the air. Instead of saying there were heaps of people there, she wrote hinder the stampede. Instead of just on the footpath, the warm asphalt. Okay, or dropped or abandoned and abandoned on the floor. The word, instead of saying and they dropped their microphone, dropped and abandoned on the floor. That really creates atmosphere there. A cacophony of noises surrounded my ears. Okay, that's excellent. Almost bursting my eardrums. So you can see how loud it is by bursting my eardrums. Okay, the reporters were like slick and well-dressed vultures, scrambling forward and closing in on their prey. So there's a lot of imagery here. The reporters were like slick and well-dressed vultures, so you can see what they're like. Scrambling forward. Instead of saying moving forward, scrambling forward and closing in on their prey. Move out of my way, I said. Move, I shouted helplessly, but my pleas were lost in the cries of other questions that were aimed at the officers protecting the crime scene. Finally barging headfirst and securing a spot near the front of the crowd, I started firing questions of my own. It was the only way the officer could hear me. This was my chance to get glory. Sir, how did you break the news to the unfortunate families of the victims while you were eating hamburgers at McDonald's? And did you really assist the car crash with the true conspirators? As those words left my mouth, the officer's friendly demeanour turned sour. With a menacing scowl, okay, instead of with an angry look, menacing scowl, it just shows that, okay? Upon his youthful face, he growled, "Just get out." Slowly, one by one, each journalist turned on me, having the same scowls on their faces as the officer. I knew I had broken the one rule of journalism, which was to never anger the interviewee. In seconds, my moment of glory turned into shame, and worse still, it was recorded by dozens of voice recorders and notes. I would never be able to gain my dignity. Okay, so it's really fantastic, this writing piece, and this is sort of the writing piece that you're trying to aim towards. She's used a lot of showing as opposed to telling, and in our course we'll go through that in more detail and how to really start doing that. And it takes a lot of time about modifying our writing. But yeah, there's reasons you can read down here, the reasons why this one is really good. And it's not too long or not too short, okay? Okay, so that concludes our quick extract of what you can hope to achieve from the course. We hope you enjoyed this video, so please comment below or subscribe to get notified for new videos.